Welcome to the We Forge On podcast. I'm your host, Soaring. And this is the show about men and the silent struggles that we deal with day to day. From tips to deep conversations, we strive to give you a voice in a world that wants to keep you silent. I'm joined here with Teal Muir. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you doing?
I'm trying not to die over here. Eating
Food
some
went down the wrong pipe, huh?
eating some leftover spaghetti, and the noodle went down the wrong pipe. So,
The old noodle lung. That's what got him finally.
yep. I knew it was going to go down eventually. I didn't think it would be this way.
Not the spaghettis.
But today's episode is the importance of self-care for men's mental health. Self-care is important for everyone, including men, and in order to help maintain a good mental health. So I know we talked a little bit about self-care in the last episode, but I wanted to kind of help expand it out a little bit more. So I know we all deal with mental health differently, but I think self-care helps. I mean, I don't care if people see my kids walking in the background, just as long as they don't make a sound. But we all have mental health in one way, shape, or form. Some are more vocal about it, some are more silent about it, and unfortunately, the ones that are silent about it end up doing the most self-harm. I know we talked about it last year, especially in episode 2 and 3. We talked about suicide. We kind of talked about the numbers. I know it's a little bit of an old stat. I don't have the newest numbers, but in 2020, men were 3.55 times more likely to commit suicide than women. So we just need to work on our self-care. I know it's different for everybody. But first is that we need to identify our needs. Identify what self-care means to us personally. And then what activities and practices that make us feel good. So some people it might be exercise, other people might be just well, for some it's exercise, some would be like trying different diets. I know a couple people that they love to try different diets to see how their body reacts to it, and then they kind of pick and choose what works best for them.
Right.
So this can include getting enough sleep, exercising regularly, eating a healthy diet, spending time with loved ones. How we identify our needs are going to be different for each and every one of us. One thing that I like to talk about, and well, yes, a lot of people, they use this in like a religious connotation, but know what your love language are. I think it's important for everybody because it knows how you express love and then also how you receive it. I think for me, I like knowing what drains my cup. And guess what? I'm an introvert and I like doing my routes by myself during my job. So I drive a shred truck. So I go to customers, I pick up confidential information, whether it's in like trash bins that have a lock on it, or it could be just servicing consoles. I empty out their bags into my deal and load up on the truck. I love doing it by myself. But if I have to have somebody ride with me, it drains my cup because I'm constantly feel like I have to entertain them, or they feel like they have to constantly keep talking to me, and I can't just do what I do because the day after my birthday, so my birthday is September 29th, I set out that I wanted to read 15 books before the year was over, and I got 13 done. So I didn't hit my goal, but I got close enough. I'm gonna take the win. But I can't listen to a podcast or listen to an audiobook if I'm having to entertain somebody. So that drains my tank.
Gotcha.
So I would say definitely look into your love language. I think there's a couple tests you could take online. Kind of helps you learn what you receive and what you give. By identifying those, that will kind of help you learn how you best spend time with your loved ones. For me, I'm perfectly content with being in the same room as my wife. We can be doing something completely different. She can be reading on her phone. I could be playing a video game, or I could be on TikTok right next to her. Just being there, not necessarily having to constantly interact, but just like being in close proximity fills my
Right.
tank.
Yeah. It's yeah, you mentioned the religious aspect of it. That's how I got introduced to it. Which yeah, through an ex of mine. But it's completely secular, right? You can completely separate that out. But it's really important. It's a part of your emotional intelligence is just kind of understanding how you operate.
Hmm.
And like for me it's physical touch, so like I love to be affectionate, so I like hugs, I like back rubs, just touching my partner. It helps me feel validated. And then for my wife, she loves acts of service, so she, if I do the dishes, I do the laundry, I help clean. That's really important to her. And then that quality time too, so spending time with her, setting time aside, even if we're just watching movies and on the couch, just kind of hanging out. It's really important, but it will help you understand relationships. It'll help you understand yourself, right? Because if you want to take care of yourself, if you don't understand what's going to make you feel fulfilled or give you some relief from stress and anxiety and things like that, then you're going to struggle, right? You're going to probably do a lot of things that end up just making you more tired or exhausted, and not taking care of that stressing anxiety. So I think it's a really important part for understanding yourself, and then just even friendships it can work for too, right? Having a friend who likes quality time, so is playing games with them, spending time with them, going to the mall, going shopping, eating out, whatever. It's going to strengthen that bond too.
Yeah. Um, I know also when I found out what the love language that I give to others, I found so mine when I give to others is words of affirmation. And when I started to learn about my uh, anxiety, depression, the mental health that I had, I realized that I was devoid of that growing up. I did not have words of affirmation. It was something I was constantly yearning. So that, I wish I would have taken the test when I was younger, so I would have known what my love language was then, because I know that sometimes that does morph over time. So something that you don't receive regularly growing up ends up being the one thing that you give out the most because you want them to have what you didn't have.
Yeah.
So that's the one that I give out as words of affirmation.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't even thought about that. I think that might be the same for me, honestly, because growing up, I always felt not good enough. Like even, and I've mentioned in past episodes that my father and I had a strained relationship, and probably till I was an adult. And of no fault of his, he was just trying to push me to be way better than he was, to not have a life that he had. He was homeless at 12. Like there was a lot of really, really difficult things that he experienced. But through doing that, he didn't know how to parent well. And it was really more like, oh, you got a B. I don't know how to deal with you not having straight A's. You're grounded, or you got physically punished. So that kind of stuff is difficult for me to take too. So like I don't take compliments well because I never had them as a kid.
Yeah.
Even if it was just something as simple as like, hey, you're just a great person. I like spending time with you. Not even just the body dysmorphia side of it, but I do find myself saying like, hey, I really like this about you. Or I like that you do this. So it's interesting. I hadn't really considered it until you mentioned it just now.
Yeah, I know the one you received too also kind of morphs as you grow up as well. Because um, I think when I first took the test, mine used to be physical touch, but now it's more just spending quality time. I'm
Yeah.
I'm chill just being in the same room with my wife. Like it don't have to be anything. It's nice if she, maybe she pets my head or she'll rub my shoulder, but
Sure.
it's not something I yearn for. I'm just cool just being 5 feet from her.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, the life's dynamic, right? So, and people are dynamic, and people change, or can change. So you have to understand that about yourself too.
yeah. So, well, yes, it did. So when I got into it, it did start from a religious standpoint, but I've started to see more and more that it could be used for far more than that. So I will definitely make sure to leave the link to a test that you can take, so you can kind of better learn what love you receive and what love you give. Because, like Tier said, once you learn that, you kind of learn how to divvy it up and how to better receive it from others. Because sometimes you just have to say, "Hey, I'm not a big physical touch person. We can be in the same room. be super chill. Just don't touch me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing is make sure that we take time for self care. I know with the constant hustle and bustle of life that we find excuses to not take care of ourselves. Oh well, I got to go to that meeting in 30 minutes. Ugh, I'm still here in PJs. You can still find time to do self care. Taking a shower, that's self care. Um, just even if it's just a couple minutes, if you can take the time to do it, your body and your mind's gonna thank you. Um, it could be sometimes if life is so crazy with all the things you got going on, sometimes you just need to go take a walk. Just give yourself that time to
Yeah.
yourself to be with yourself. Just taking a walk or sitting down and taking deep breaths. Like it doesn't have to be groundbreaking self care. It could just be as simple as a walk or taking deep breaths.
Yeah. This makes me think of there's a saying that's like, who heals the healer, right? A lot of times, especially men, we are providers and we have to solve problems and we put out fires and we're taking care of people. We're doing that like what feels like 24/7. But it's really important to understand that like if you don't take care of yourself, one, it won't happen, or you don't know that it will happen. It might, but it's probably luck. Two, who's going to take care of those other folks that you have dedicated yourself to taking care of if you're not around. So it's really important that you make time for yourself, even if that means scheduling it. I know that can be tough sometimes, but much like I do professionally for self development, I schedule time, I put it on my calendar, and nobody can move that. Um, Put some self care time on your calendar, like 30 minutes, 15, 30, hour if you're lucky, depending on what you got going on in life. But that time should be dedicated to you and making sure that you are physically and mentally well.
Yeah. I think another thing is like planning that out. If you are so busy, maybe get up an extra 15 minutes early. Um, you have to get up at 7. All right, get up at 6:45. You can stay in your bed, just focus on some breathing, or maybe just I don't know, take a lap around your apartment or house or whatever your living situation is. Just take a small lap of your living quarters. Um, like we said, it doesn't have to be groundbreaking. Doesn't have to be like the a 5-star spa at such and such place. It could just be as simple as I don't know, throwing a towel in the dryer just before you go to take a shower, and
Yeah,
have your partner bring it out to you so you have a nice warm towel when you get done with the shower.
yeah,
You know, could just super simple, but
yeah,
when we neglect ourselves, we find out how hard it is to do that for ourselves.
yeah.
So if you can learn to do the small things for yourself, then the big things don't seem as bad.
I mean, 15 minutes reading your favorite book, 15 minutes of listening to your favorite songs, music, artist, reading a poem. Like, just there's just some of these little things that something that brings you joy and helps reduce the stress and anxiety that you feel is important. And to Soaring's point, if that means you've got to give yourself a little extra time, make sure you do it. It's really that important. You really should make time for yourself, especially as busy as we all tend to be and as connected as we are in social media nowadays. Like you have to decompress, and I'd even encourage you probably to step away from the phone for that 15 minutes too, because it's
Yeah.
probably going to give you some time away from notifications and emails and tweets and everything else. So give yourself that time for you.
Yeah. Yeah, trying to remember the quote. I say this every now and then. I know specifically to my kids is if we don't learn to love ourselves, how can we love others? Well, part of loving yourself is taking care of it too. Um, I know, I know in today's society, you feel like you have to constantly um, put out love towards others, and then people treat you like you're selfish if you give yourself just a small modicum of love. Um, but that's the complete opposite. You cannot love others if you don't love yourself, and that includes taking care of yourself. Um, because if you don't take care of yourself, then who will? You can't expect someone else to do it. You gotta you gotta do it for yourself. do it for the betterment of you. I know us guys have a hard time of thinking about ourselves because, to Tier's point, we're the providers. We're the one, like society, we're the ones that provide. We're the ones that have to be the ones to defend. Um, he protect, he attack type scenario. Like that's who we're, society we're supposed to be. It takes a lot for us to then think about ourselves to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So any little bit that we can do will be a lot better. Because the last thing that we want is to not take care of ourselves and then we fall, and then our family, um, I don't know, in some unhealthy relationships, your family will look at you as a failure because you fell. Um,
Right.
we need to also learn to practice healthy coping mechanisms or strategies. I know with life we deal with a plethora of different stresses, uh, difficult scenarios, and emotions that we also experience. It's kind of hard to handle all that. Some people break down and they kind of shelter themselves off from everybody, and that's not a safe way to do it. So you need to learn to handle those things, whether it's expressing yourself through art, writing, music, whatever, you know, whatever creativity bone in your body that you have, flex it and use it to help you relax, help you cope with things. Um, or you can practice meditation. I know that's one that I want to try and work on this year is learn how to meditate so that I'm not trying to like I try to look at it as having tools in my tool chest. The more tools I have in that chest, the better I can do for the job. If
Sure.
I just have a screwdriver, I'm not doing a whole lot of woodworking unless
Right.
it's putting two pieces of wood together. But if I learn meditations, that means I just got a jigsaw. I can now cut
Right.
into some wood. I learned how to do yoga. Now I can do this thing. Um,
Right.
look at all of these coping mechanisms as a way to equip your tool chest. The more tools you have at your disposal, the more that you can do for yourself, and in theory, also for others. Um, so, deep breathing, meditation, yoga, um, creativity outlets like art, music, writing, anything you can do to help you kind of cope with all of the things that you're putting on yourself. Um, just
Yeah.
utilize those things because you know it's hard to do so.
Yeah. Some of those have multiple benefits, right? Like for me, I got into yoga middle of last year because I literally woke up one day with the most terrible sciatica pain ever. And working through yoga and stretching, I stretch every single day now. I've only had one relapse on my back, but it's been helpful physically for me too, aside from the mental aspects. So that self-care is, there are things that you can do, things you can learn that will physically and emotionally help you. Again, we're not medical professionals in any way, shape, or form, but it has assisted me, in helping deal with some of my sciatica pain and keep me a little more limber and my back feeling not as tight. So there's sometimes there are multiple aspects of your life that you can impact through some of these techniques and things that you can do to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I know for me, what I usually do is I do art, or I used to be huge in creative writing, doing poems and short stories and stuff. Um, I need to flex that bone more so that I can, actually get some work done on a D&D campaign that I'm trying to write. Um, but no, just like little small things, like they don't, like we said in the previous step, they don't have to be groundbreaking. Just little things that you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, equip your tool chest. Give yourself more room by allowing yourself to learn new mechanisms. It could be as simple as just sitting down and counting back from 10. It could be uh, doing in and out breathing, kind of like what women that are in labor they kind of do, except for there's a little bit more like, and it's
Yeah.
just like in and out. I know I have to. tell my daughter this sometimes when she's freaking out. Her big
Yeah.
thing is that when she's super stressed, guess what she does? She cleans. She had friends stay the night. So they stayed the night Friday night and they left Saturday morning. It was actually closer to noon when they left, but she was stressed out because she wanted our house to be presentable to her friends. And so
Right.
she was cleaning everywhere to the point where she was so stressed out she was cleaning a wall, and kind of had to tell her, it's like, calm down, it's okay,
Yeah.
breathe in, breathe
Right.
out. This,
Breathe. Yeah.
but I can understand why she wanted that to be the case. She wants her house to be the sleepover house,
Right.
which is huge for not only her but for for me. I always slept at everyone else's house. They never came to my
Sure.
house. I'm the oldest of
Right.
5 kids, so my mom did well, but our rooms were always trashed.
Yeah.
So no,
Yeah. It becomes a point of pride for her too. I'm sure.
yeah,
To be able to have that, have her friends come over, and the house to look good. So it's kind of a multiple fronts for her.
but we just, like I said, just equip your tool chest. Come up with, go online, look up ways to relax. Find if you seek a professional helper, they would have equipped you with at least a small list of coping mechanisms you can do. Um, like we said, we're not professionals. We're just telling you things that we do to help with us.
Right.
Comes somehow balancing the line between horny and wholesome. Teal Mjolnir fosters a community of honesty, acceptance, and fun. With a heavy focus on story and community interaction, Tyr connects with his viewers, and together they enjoy time together where maybe just for a little while they can forget their troubles.
Every time you hear a noise, it'll remind you of that time you sucked farts out of Terry's dad's ass. It's some kind of thing with your skin. Yes, Slippers? I gotta pee. How am I gonna pee in this thing? Should have checked their profile.
And you will not regret being in his channel. It's super fun. Thanks. Back to the show. Comes to our next point. If you are needing help, definitely seek it. Do not look at it as a failure. You are not a failure. Anyone that goes out of their way to seek help is actually expressing the highest form of strength, in my opinion, because it takes a lot to admit that you need help. Like, I don't like to admit it. I'm 33 years old right now, and I do not like to ask for help, but I'm willing to do so if I need to. Whether that is professionally or just friends and family or your community that you've built. If you trust people that you can go to, do so. Don't look at it as you admitting that you can't handle it, because guess what? At the end of the day, your friends and family will be so much happier that you asked for help. Well, okay, asterisk, if your family is not toxic, because there's a lot of families that are toxic.
Yeah.
But I'm sure your friends in your community would be so much glad that you went and sought help versus finding out on Twitter that you passed, or
Yeah.
Facebook, or whatever platform you get your news. Like, I would hate to find out that one of my friends passed versus them just asking for help. And I'm
Yeah.
always the one saying, if you need help, ask for it. Like, I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm not going to think ill of you at all, because guess what?
Yeah.
I'd rather have you in this world than not have you in it.
Yeah. And it can be tough because I know I sometimes struggle with it because my go-to is like, I'll figure it out. I just say I'll figure it out. Whatever that means. And sometimes, I need to be a little less. I don't know why. I honestly don't know at this point why I do it. I think being the strong one has always been something that I've always prided myself on. And so I I kind of struggle with that. And so for me, I'll figure it out means probably just means I'm gonna tough it out. Which isn't necessarily the best case. Even just having the conversation with somebody and being like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, or this is what I'm experiencing, can go a long way to just kind of opening up and getting it off my chest. And saying like, hey, I'm stressed about work, so this is why I feel this way, or whatever the cause is. Um, it's something that I know that I'm actively working on, and so I'm at the point now where if people ask me like, hey, how are you? What are you dealing with? I'm a little more open. but I have to be careful that I don't fall back into that. Well, I'll figure it out, or I'm fine. You know, I'm blessed to be surrounded with people who I can share how I really feel with.
Yeah. I know for myself that if you are struggling, guess what? My socials are going to be left in the show notes or the description. I don't have any restrictions on my DMs. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. I check my Twitter at least 4 to 5 times a day. Kind of depends on how, like, if I'm at work, I don't check it as often because I try to focus on work. But when I'm at home, I got nothing else better to do. I kind of just create scripts and play. No, I don't play. I watch people play Satisfactory because I'm so I guess it's overload because there's so much you could do in that game
Yeah,
and logistics you have to figure out. I just rather watch someone play and figure it out
sure.
while they're recording, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know how to do that." And then I go to boot the game up. It's like I have no fucking clue.
I forgot what they did.
So, like I'll keep my DMs open. I have no problem with answering people, even if it's just I'll say I'm thinking about you in the situation. I'm more than welcome to send you links to professional help.
Yeah.
But like to that point, I also make sure that I have at least 2 professional helpers listed in the show notes, just so you can click it. They're going to be online, not in person, so you can have a Zoom therapist. It's better than no therapist. So
Right. Yeah, I always tell people, I'm a great listener. I can't promise to solve any of your problems, but I can the one thing I can promise is that I'll listen.
yeah. Next point is learn to take breaks when needed. A lot of people have a hard time of going, and guess what? We are not the Duracell battery. We can't just keep going and going. We have there comes a point where we have to take a break, or else our body will break down. I know it in our society where you have to constantly be hustling and grinding, that it's hard for you to think that that is an appropriate thing to do, is to take a break. But guess what? It's appropriate. Your body needs it. Your mind needs it. You need it.
Yeah, this
And
is another one that I struggle with myself. Like if it like it becomes a point of pride for me, and I probably shouldn't be. Because like if you go and you look at my workout history, like I haven't missed a workout in like 6 or 7 years. Like I
But
work
you
out
never
every
be
single day.
proud.
Yeah, so it's tough. It's tough. I don't take like it's the whole no rest day mentality. And it's something that I work on. And even when I'm sick, like I'll work out, and it's tough for me to miss streams. I don't know. So this one is really, really difficult for me. But I 100% agree that you need to be able to recognize if you really need to take breaks. If you need to, whether it's a physical break, whether it's a mental break, it's about that emotional intelligence and understanding where you're at. Particularly mentally, because physically, usually your body just, you'll be sick, or you'll get, you'll make it worse, or you'll injure yourself. And usually at that point, you're like, okay, well, I gotta take a break because I just can't. But mentally, sometimes we push ourselves a little too hard, and we don't understand we push ourselves past our breaking point. So that emotional intelligence of understanding like stress and anxiety and depression, and understanding your triggers and just all of those things, and trying to put yourself in a situation where you hopefully don't hit that breaking point, whether it's asking for help, taking a break, doing some of these coping mechanisms we've talked about. That one can be more difficult. So that one is it's definitely on my list of things that I'm trying to improve on every single day.
Yeah, I think the thing that we need to understand is that it's okay to give ourselves permission to take a break. Because a lot of times people just, like to your point, you'll just keep going, and, no rest days. And you feel bad if you have to take a break because you do get sick. Like,
Yeah, guilty. So
Yeah.
much guilt.
But, and this doesn't just go with like exercising or just your normal day to day. This can also be your work. Like, you need to be okay to take time off or to take a vacation. And guess what? I don't care what anyone tells you. If you have sick time, if you have vacation time, guess what? It's there to be used. Now, if somebody gaslights you at work because you took a time off, oh, I worked here 30 years, I never took a day off. Bull fucking crap. You might, You might have been sick at home and you faked
Yeah.
it while you were at work, but your body needed to take a break. But you were such a big, strong man because you didn't take a break. Well, guess what?
Right.
I don't care. I'm a pussy. I'm gonna take time off. There's nothing anyone could tell me. They'll tell me otherwise. Because guess what? I know my limits, and apparently they didn't know theirs.
Yeah.
It's okay to give yourself permission for that. Breaks
Yeah.
are necessary. You know, there's a reason why most people that work out tell you can only work out X amount of times and take a rest day. Because guess what? Your body needs to be able to build itself up. You don't build muscle if you don't take breaks.
Yeah, and the work one is tough for what was tough for me for a long time too, because I was that guy that like no matter when you called, I was gonna answer emails after work just all day long. I'm responding till till I go to bed at night, and then I realized like they're not paying me for I mean they're yeah I'm salaried right, but they're not paying me extra to work when I'm off work to answer the phone to answer the emails. So I've gotten a lot better from it. The nature of my work, I have to answer the phone sometimes. So a lot of times I have it nearby, or I'm looking just to make sure it's not somebody that I need to answer. But I am able to better disconnect. And to your point too, like sick time, vacation time, like that's your time. Use it. A lot of times it's sick time. You use it or lose it. So like get sick. I don't know. Step on a Lego. Whatever it is that you got to do to get off work for that day.
Yeah.
That's your time. You've earned it. So you're not gonna get that back.
Yeah. I know I've worked at places where like I prided myself on not taking time off, and then I realized, I missed things because I didn't take time off. I worked a couple jobs where I worked nights, and so like any event that happened at night, guess what? I missed it, and it sucked. Thankfully, I'm in a place where my schedule's 8 to 4:30. It was great. Usually drop my son off at school right about. I get up, get out of the house about 6:45, drop him off by 7, get to work by like 7:20, and I just chill in the parking lot till work starts.
Yeah.
And it's great. And my work isn't toxic like other people. Like they understand family. They understand. Guess what? People get sick. Better to take care of your family than to you look at us not caring and then quit.
Right.
And because there's plenty of people out there that are in that situation where they work in a very toxic place, and they need to understand that it's okay to take time off. If you've earned the time, take it. I don't feel like you have to appease to some macho man character that works in the same line of work as you, and they're like, I never take time off. Guess what? Fuck them.
Yeah.
You're not them, you're you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's see. This step is probably one of my favorites. Find activities that bring joy. So I don't know if you can see my backdrop. I got Funko Pops. I got plushies. Up here in the top right, I guess because my camera's flipped, I have all my Gundam. I just built a new one. Here, I'll show the box. I love Gundam. They're my favorites. I call it my plastic therapy. So I just got the Heavy Arms.
Nice.
I love that one. It's been on my wish list for forever. It's cool because it opens up its chest. It's got some machine gun barrels.
Yep.
I love it. I just got done putting it together yesterday, I believe. Maybe it was the day before. I can't remember. Anyways, it's up there, displayed.
Very nice.
It brings me joy because I didn't get to get them when I was growing up. I saw the show and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I would say, hey, I want a Gundam kit, but there was no hobby shops nearby at the time.
Gotcha.
And so when I became an adult, I think 2018, I was like, I'm finally going to get some Gundam. And I think I counted my boxes. I have like 30 plus.
That's awesome.
They're all put together.
Yeah.
Caveat. One of them is not fully put together only because I'm intimidated, but it's the only perfect grade I have.
I would say it must be
it's
a big boy.
my perfect grade Zeta.
Okay.
So he's about 85% done. The only thing I don't have put together is his wings.
Okay.
But I have no point in transforming it. I'd rather just keep it like that.
Yeah.
So he's cool. He's up there next to Shenron.
Very cool.
But yeah, find things that bring you joy. Because guess what? I know there's been a lot of controversy recently, news outlets been talking about how adults our age are making up like 90% of the toy market, like in buying toys and stuff like that. Guess what? Buy it. Fuck what they say. Because guess what?
Yeah.
Are they paying your bills? No. Are they in charge of your happiness? No, you are. Find things that
Yeah.
you find enjoyment out of. I've felt great about creating a safe place in my house. That I have my computer, I have my plushies, I have the art pieces I've done. Like I'll take a picture of it and I'll post it later. But I have like a mural of all my Pokemon stuff. I have drawings that I've done, figures, the games. Like this whole room is my safe space because I like all this stuff, and it brings me joy. So when I get to add a piece to it, like a Gundam, I get to help expand that joy that I have in this room.
Yeah. That's really important. I think I spend a lot of time gaming because I enjoy it, right? It becomes therapeutic in some ways. So like I've got tons of Steam games that I'll play. Much like you, I love a lot of my figures. You can't really see them; they're off here to the side. But I've got a whole um, IKEA bookshelf, kind of like different Dragon Ball characters. I've even invested in some pricier pieces of artwork, which I do not recommend if you are financially, uh, constrained at all. But if you get into some of the more like the resin figures and stuff that they have,
Mhm.
or they can be super pricey between shipping and stuff. But again, like much like you, created a space where I'm comfortable in. I can come. I spend a lot of time in here when I'm home, and it's filled with the things that bring me joy. You know, pictures of Dragon Ball on the wall, and other stuff like that too. So um, it just helps me. I'm comfortable here. It's kind of someplace where I can just be myself.
Yeah, and not everyone's gonna be the same. Like my Gundam kits, they bring me joy, and all the things in my room bring me joy. But to other people, it might just be sports. It could be having sports memorabilia hanging up in the room,
Sure.
watching sports every week. It could be playing video games or going to the bar and doing late night karaoke. Like
Mhm.
anything that you find joy, do it. Like there's nothing holding you back.
Right.
um, don't feel like that you're any less of an adult because you participate in hobbies. And to my point, I take pity on people that don't have hobbies,
Yeah.
because what are you finding joy in?
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of different hobbies out there that we haven't even begun to list. But if it brings you joy, do it. That's part of your self care too. Like I said, I get plastic therapy when I get a Gundam kit. Just being able to open up that instruction booklet, and I'm like, all right, I need A12 and I need B43. I'm
Yeah.
going down. I'm clipping pieces. I got my different sanders. I'm cleaning up the nubs as they go. It's just for me, it's therapeutic because it's an activity that I can do myself that isn't shared with anyone else in my family, that I get the most enjoyment out of. And like when I was putting together that perfect grade Zeta, guess what? I had my tablet playing um, Gundam Zeta, the anime, as I
Yeah.
was building it. It was great. Um, just you know, I don't know if you can see on my face, but I'm smiling. I don't do that very often. My wife says I have a resting bitch face, and that's okay because I scowl a lot. I probably will end up having wrinkles around my mouth because I'm always in a scowl because I don't find a lot of enjoyment in my life, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that better this year. Um, but like kits, like Gundams and plushies and stuff like that, that gives me enjoyment. So
Right.
whatever it looks like for you, do it, as long as it's not harming others. Obviously, that's a big caveat. Is you know, if my Gundams were hurting my kids, I wouldn't do it. But because
Right.
they're plastic figures, I can just put them up on a shelf and they collect dust. It's
Yeah.
it's cool, but just find things that you enjoy, as this life is way too short for you to not do that, I guess.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you can't find joy in something, what's the point?
Yeah. So, what is one thing this year that you want to try and focus on when it comes to your self care routine?
That's a great question. I think I think one of the things I've really been wanting to um, get lately is honestly a massage. So like just taking the time for actually making the time for myself because you know, whether it's massage, I like getting pedicures. Like I don't mind admitting that here. You know, they'll go and you know they'll wash your feet and take care of your feet. And I have nasty feet from fighting and stuff, and I'm almost always barefoot. So, and they really get a giggle out of it whenever at the end I'll be like, "What? You're not going to paint my nails?" And so I get my nails painted too. So, but that kind of stuff where it's like I'm actually taking care of my body because for so long I didn't. I've been lifting weights since I was like 12, fighting, you know, no days off, right? Like all the stuff that we've kind of talked about a little bit. So like actually making sure I take care of my body. It started last year when I had that sciatica. I thought I was going to be paralyzed. Like the sciatica pain was so terrible. You know, and basically they told me, hey, you've got arthritis in your back. So I've got like 3 discs that are highly degenerated. The doctor was like, hey, some people have bad knees, you've got bad back. I'm like, oh, awesome, perfect. So it started that got the ball rolling with like, okay, how can I start taking care of myself? So stretching and yoga has been a big part of that. But you know, physically, just as I get older, I know I've been hard on my body as a young man. So, you know, what are the things that I can do to take care of my body now? So, you know, something like massages or pedicures or whatever else, I think are going to be important to me this year. And I think that's what I'll do. And I'll make sure the wife is included when I can too, so she can enjoy it as well.
Yeah. I think for me this year, I'm going to try and focus on making sure that I give myself the time. Because, you know, I'm the worst procrastinator in the world. And I shouldn't put things off, but I do. Just, you know, whether it could be uh, fear, could be doubt, or just sometimes just not interested. But I need to make sure I take the time to uh, give myself time for that care. Pencil it on a schedule, set it as a reminder, make sure I, you know, actually get up to my alarms and not snooze it more than once. Um, and then I think the other thing I would need to do is I just need to learn that it's okay to take breaks. I get into a bad habit that if you know I go to work, I come home, and then I feel like I have to grind. I feel like I have to always be working on something. Um, you know, whether it be the podcast or it could be an art piece I'm working on for somebody. You know, I just need to learn to make sure to take time. Um, I'll answer this after I ask it, but what would be something that you wish for, you know, myself? What do you think that I should work on this year? Just
For
like,
you,
yeah,
um, this is gonna sound a little silly, but I wish you would find a way to believe in yourself more. Because in the little bit of time that I've known you, you're a very talented guy. But to your point, either this, you know, recently you mentioned that like you took too much on too fast, and then kind of got bogged down and was like, all this stuff's going on and we got to figure it out, right? And we kind of fizzled. But you're a talented artist, right? You've got great ideas about this podcast and some other things that we've talked about. You know, art that you've created for other people that I think is really imaginative and really, really just cool. Art you've created for me. So I want you to recognize that you've got some talent. I'm not saying you're perfect, you're Picasso or anything like that, but recognize your talent, recognize that that you're a good person, and that if you believe in yourself a little bit more, you know, we believe in you. So other people believing in you too will help you stay motivated and focused. And not that you won't slip like we all do, but we'll be here to pick you up and you know, just believe in yourself a little bit more, bud.
I appreciate that, man. I think the one thing I would say for you is just to give yourself time. Um, I know you're really down on yourself about that. I just think it's okay to take time.
Yeah.
Be understanding. If the one thing I want to make from this group is that as we start to gain more and more voices, we start to create like almost like an accountability group.
Sure.
We kind of keep, you know, we push each other to be better. We learn that we're all going to falter and we're there to pick each other up when we do. So for me, I think, you know, I know I can't speak for you, but I know I give you permission to take time for yourself. I know sometimes it's hard for you to give your own self that acceptance, but
It is.
it's okay to take time. I know you guys, you and your wife are going through a lot. I know you guys had a loss And sometimes you feel like you have to constantly just keep pushing yourself just so that you don't get in those moments of lull and then you start to
Yeah.
think about those bad things. We're always here for you, and we're going to do everything we can. But it's okay to take that time.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we're going to go ahead and call this episode done. But before we do, just know that everyone is different. Everyone, we all react to advice differently. We also react to just all of our situations. Some might be triggered one way, others are triggered another way. Take time for yourself. Understand that you can't go 0 to 100 right now. Just take the small baby steps. Any progress we make for ourselves is going to better us in the future. You might not feel those results now, but just know, give yourself time, keep pushing forward, and keep just utilizing the coping skills, utilizing all the steps that we've gone through, both in this episode and in any future episodes. Give yourself time. I think that's the biggest one. It's just give yourself time. Let it sink in. No, you're not going to go 0 to 100. It's okay to go to 0 to 5. Any notes? So a transcript will be on our blog site once I have it launched. Any links are going to be in the show notes. Also, a Tiltify link will be for our Q1 charity, which is ASPCA. I butchered the name, so I'm not going to say it. You can go research online what it is. Pets are important. I know I don't personally have a pet. I know Tyr had a pet. But pets are important to us. There also could be a tool for our mental health, learning how to love something, even if we don't love ourselves sometimes. So we want to send some efforts towards ASPCA. So from January to March, we'll be raising money for them. So like I said, link will be in the description. Just remember, love others, and when life gets you down, stand tall, and we forge on.